Hello everyone, I'm James Jack. I want to welcome you to another edition of Skills to Pay the Bills. I'm with Ernestine J. Wilson Real Estate. I do real estate. I've been doing it for a long time, and I'm really happy to have one of my best friends here who is associated with the real estate business in a way that he can explain better than I can. So welcome, Alton.
Yeah. Thank you, James.
This is Alton Webb.
It's a pleasure to be here.
This is Alton Webb. He is a home inspector. Now, many of us who have bought and sold homes know about home inspectors. He or she is the person that you need to come in before you purchase or before you sell or when you're building to actually take a look at the structure and the mechanics and everything else to tell you whether or not you're getting a good deal or whether or not you're actually buying a pig in a poke. So, let's get started.
Sure.
Tell me about you. Where did you come from? How did
okay.
you wind up in this business? And what do you do? We'll start with
I'm a home inspector, and I'm from a place called Atchison, Kansas. I got in the home inspection business by chance. I was ill, and my doctor had told me that I could only lift 10 pounds. At that time, I was a contractor. So I started praying, and just as I'm praying, 60 Minutes has a special on TV about home inspection. Investigated it, found out there was something that I was capable of doing. So I've been doing it for 20 years now.
That was fast.
Yeah.
It usually takes a few decades before my prayers are answered, but you know.
Depends. I guess I was in the right place at the right time for that to be answered.
Okay, so you're listening and you're watching and you say Eureka.
Yes.
Or YOLO.
Yeah.
YOLO encounter. I
Yeah.
see it.
So I investigate to make sure that it's something that I was capable of and that I would enjoy. And it turned out to be a beautiful thing to where I enjoy it and I can help a lot of people make a good decision about their home purchases.
So how did you make the transition from contracting, we're talking about the builder, home building,
Okay.
things like that. How did you make that transition from one to the other?
Well, the transition was really pretty simple in that I had to understand how to do a home inspection first. So I actually took a couple of classes to find out how to do a home inspection. You go in, you go take the course, and you go through a few houses and people show you how to do a home inspection. And over the years, you develop your own style to where it benefits your clients the most.
Well, how can someone tell you who has all this experience in terms of how houses are built, how they're maintained, how can someone tell you how to look at a house and determine what's wrong with it or what's right with it?
Well, the difference is that when you're a contractor, you actually know the problem when you arrive. So what you do is you repair it. In the home inspection thing, you take that experience from the people showing you what they needed to be corrected. You actually go through the house at this point as a home inspector, and you recognize issues of the past or present issues that you would deem to repair.
So over the years, you amassed this largesse of customers, clients, and experience, and then you form your own company, PERSPECTIONS.
Mm-hmm.
And tell me how all of that happened.
Well, that happened here in Maryland. PERSPECTIONS was pretty much developed here in Maryland, and I actually went to work for a home inspection company in the area, and they started licensing. So I had to take a course for home inspection.
Another course?
Another course because it wasn't grandfathered here in the state of Maryland. And took the course, passed the test, then you get your licensing. In order to get licensed, you have to also have insurance. So you had to purchase insurance, and then the hard job is to find agents and clients.
So you got through all those hurdles?
Got through those hurdles, yes.
And now we're at a point where we're ready to do a home inspection. What does a home inspector do, and why is a home inspector necessary?
Okay, well, what we actually do is we do a visual inspection of all the components of a house, such as the roof, plumbing, electrical, your foundation, crawl spaces, your appliances, and so on. You should also, as I do, when I get to a property, before I get there, I look at the neighborhood to look at the type of construction that goes on in the neighborhood, if there's any issues structurally with homes in the area. That'll give me a general idea before I arrive at the property If there's, say, like roofing issues, cracking in the brick, sidewalks that are uneven, things of this nature. So once I get to the property, I start out by looking at the roof, looking at the exterior trims, looking around the foundation to make sure there's no issues there which could possibly lead to water infiltration. And after we move inside the house, start in the basement and check the walls in the basement, check all the electrical, check the mechanicals, which would be hot water heater, the furnace, plumbing, electrical, and move the second level. It's pretty much plumbing, electrical, structural issues there, and the appliances, and move to the third level in some cases, and usually where you have your bathrooms and your bedrooms, and do the plumbing, electrical there, and then move to the attic.
Now, you and I have met at the house many times, probably what, for about a dozen years. Lots
exactly.
of houses, Maryland, DC, and Virginia. Every house is new and different. You never know until you go inside what's inside. So you're looking at the outside. We may not see any issues on the outside, to the casual observer, but you've seen a few things. You've made note of that. So we go inside, and I remember you telling me once before, you're looking for things that you may suspect behind the wall, but it's not your job to tear open the wall, but certain things make it apparent that there may be problems.
Yeah, there's indicators, and as far as like home inspection of each property, you should never go into a house with any preconceived notions as to what you're going to find. The house actually speaks to you as you go through it. It tells you what's wrong with it.
The house speaks to you.
It speaks to you. At least it does to me. It tells me, it says, this is wrong with me. You need to report this to the client so that they can make a good decision about their purchase.
Okay, the walls are talking.
The walls actually talk. The electrical actually talks. Most of these things, they work or they don't. Most issues are pretty well visible. Structural issues are visible. You can see cracks. Doors don't shut, which means could indicate a settlement problem. You have electrical. You have equipment that actually tests the electrical system. You have most plumbing is visual. A leak is or it's not. So that's a pretty easy one. The HVAC system, it works.
HVAC?
HVAC meaning heating, ventilating, and air conditioning. The heater heats your house, of course. The air conditioning cools your house. Ventilation has to do with like your stove. You have a ventilating system there to remove smoke and grease out of your house. In your bathroom, you want to remove moisture as well as the stove ventilator, because the moisture in your house causes other issues. So you want to keep moisture out of your house.
Now, a couple of things we're going to talk about over the next few minutes. One of them is, of course, what we can see, such as the cracks and things like that. And we also see very positive things with some of the houses that we've gone into, which is an indicator of how well constructed the house is. That goes back to the builder. Some builders have a very good reputation for quality work, and it shows. We talk all the time about how people don't maintain their homes, so we're going to talk a little bit about that in a little bit. And we're going to talk about some of the little critters who also have made your address their home too. So
those are always fun.
Yeah, they're really fun, aren't they?
Yeah, they're great.
They're watching us now as we speak.
We're breathing them.
As we speak. Okay, you bought a house. You've lived there for a couple of years. How often should you take a look at things before, the homeowner, not you, but before you arrive, how often should a homeowner take a look at the condition of their home?
Okay. A homeowner actually should look at their home daily, because things happen daily inside a house. Say like if you haven't gotten anything from beneath your sink in say a week, and you open that door, you should actually look to see if there's a leakage or something of that nature that's occurred. Same with ceilings, your ceilings. When you're walking there, say you're watching television, you should just look at your ceilings periodically to make sure there's no water intrusion.
Every time we have a storm after the storm, if it's a daytime storm, I walk around the house afterwards. Learned my lesson on that one a few years back. If it's the next morning, I walk around the house. After snowstorms, windstorms, things like that, power outages, you know, you never know what caused the problem until you actually go and visibly take a look at the house, because every time you walk around the house, you learn something new about your house, and it makes it a lot easier for you to identify problems before they really, you know, become real problems. So let's take a look first at some of the most common problems when you walk around the house. Not the major issues, but some of the common things.
Yeah, there's some of the common things as far as like you take a look at the foundation, and you'll have some types of different cracks. There are some normal cracks, like the transition between the main foundation and the garage, which is pretty normal, and it's usually of no significance. But if you find a crack that's 3/8 of an inch or larger in your foundation, you probably would want to get a moisture meter or something.
3/8 of an inch. Okay, I've got that.
Yeah, 3/8 of an inch. That would allow water to infiltrate to the interior.
Bugs.
And bugs. But bugs are more visible than water. Usually bugs leave a trace, whereas water will have a trace to the interior where you would want to go. Bugs pretty much that live on the exterior, that move to the interior, they all leave a trace that you'll be able to follow. The other thing on the exterior, you want to make sure you check your roof. Say like you drive up each day, you know, to your house, you should look at your roof.
That's true.
You should look at it. Strong winds can come by, blow shingles off. Different things can happen. Make sure that, say, you don't have any animals or things like that going into your roof area. You should make sure, like, you know, check to see if everything's well caulked around your doors, your windows, to make sure that, say, like your garage door closes fully, because this is a way for things to get in. And the big thing, like you said a second ago, has to do with moisture. Moisture is one of the most detrimental things to a house.
In a minute, we're going to talk about the other most detrimental thing to your house. There are two. Moisture is one of them, in the form of rain or whatever.
Right.
Alton Webb is my guest here on Skills to Pay the Bills. I'm James Jack, your host. I'm with Ernestine J. Wilson Real Estate. You can always reach Alton by phone at 240-422-0714. He'll answer questions without any obligations at all. And you can reach him on the web at PERSPECTIONS.info. PERSPECTIONS.info. We'll be right back in just a moment. More questions coming. Thank you.
Hello. I have a very special announcement from Skills to Pay the Bills. Join First Home Alliance as they celebrate their volunteers for National Volunteer Week. This year's theme is Celebrating People in Action. This is a free event in the park which takes place on Saturday, April 27, 2013 from 12 noon until 4 p.m. at the Veterans Memorial Park located at 14300 Veterans Drive in Woodbridge, Virginia. This is a free event in the park featuring food, free Zumba classes, volleyball, double dutch, a trail walk run, free face painting, and much, much more. So come out, bring family and friends, and support First Home Alliance as they're celebrating people in action. For more information, email Charlotte V at firsthomealliance.org or call 703-580-8838. And don't forget to watch Skills to Pay the Bills.
Welcome back to Skills to Pay the Bills. I'm James Jack, your host. I'm with Ernestine J. Wilson Real Estate. I do real estate, and I also have a lot of friends who are closely associated with the real estate game. And one of them is my guest for today, Mr. Alton Webb. I've known him for about 10, maybe 15 years, who knows. We've seen a lot of houses in this area, the Washington metropolitan area, and not only houses that are 15, 20 years old, but also brand new houses, first construction, things like that. But today we're talking more about why you need to have a home inspection done. Even if you're not selling your house or buying another house, every once in a while it's a good idea to just have someone to come in and take a look at your house to tell you what the condition is. not necessarily someone from, say, one of the companies that's going to come in and tell you, well, you need all new this and all new that, because that's their business. You need someone who is an impartial observer, and they're looking at the house and based on their experience. And Alton has about 17, 18 years in the home inspection business, but before that, he was closely associated with construction of new homes and also renovations and things like that. So before we went on the break, we talked about how moisture can be a silent killer in a home.
Yeah,
and you were going to wrap up on that.
Yeah, moisture is one of the predominant things as far as like a deficiency in a home, because it can lead to mold, rot, and weakened structures by both of those. And it's very seldom, sometimes you don't know exactly what you're looking at unless you're a trained professional, because toilets leak beneath the base.
That's right.
Vanities leak beneath the base.
Pipes corrode.
Yeah, tubs leak beneath the base. They leak inside the walls. So they actually leak, and they can be there for a great deal of time before you're able to recognize it.
You smell something.
Yeah, you always,
Remember when I was smelling moisture, and you came and took the little camera and showed me that the leaves were clogging up the gutters, and that just the smell of the leaves was getting inside of the house, and we thought it was mold.
Right.
Remember that?
Yeah, and that's just the venting of your roof where you was getting that from your soffits. That's where the odor was coming from, but the moisture that was there, it came from the leaves. And that's a maintenance issue. That's something that each homeowner should do, check and clean their gutters yearly, sometimes twice a year, depending on the amount of trees.
And there were no trees, actually, no overhanging trees where leaves could have gotten into the gutters, but you explained to me how leaves travel in the air, and they can travel great distances and just deposit themselves in your gutters and in the downspouts, and they clog up and just really cause a lot of anguish, expense too.
Yeah, exactly.
So, moisture is one. The other one is fire.
Right. Yeah, fire is more of even though it causes damage to your house, the main concern about fire has to do with human life. So it's a good idea to make sure that you upgrade your smoke detector system, your carbon monoxide system, to where you have a hardwired system to each bedroom and each hallway in your home. Have the carbon monoxide connected to that, so that if one goes off, everything in the house goes off. And if possible, if you have a sprinkler system, get that serviced periodically. There's a check valve that's on that system that should be changed every 5 years.
I just found out that microbes can build up inside of that, so that has to be flushed. And
yeah, that's the reason for the check valve, is to keep that bacteria and microbes and things from backing up into the potable water system. But you really want to check those to make sure they're not leaking, because if they fail, that's a whole nother issue, because they can't do their job if they fail. Smoke detectors check them. It's a fact that it said that you should check them yearly. I prefer as often as possible. Things in a home that should be checked, you check them when you think about it. You can actually do a list to where Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, you check different things, or Saturday. Saturday mornings is a good time to check. When
not only inside, but outside too.
Exterior.
Yeah.
Always keep a vigilant eye on your property, because it's an investment. As far as fire safety, I advise not smoke detectors, but fire extinguishers at each hallway. Visible. They may look a little ugly, but in an emergency, it's well worth the sight.
And emergency lights too.
Yeah.
And an escape plan.
You definitely need that though. But you need an escape plan. You need to go through that with your families. Make sure like your smoke detectors are mounted about 4 foot off the ground, so they're easily accessible by younger people, and teach them how to use them. In some municipalities, if your fire extinguisher gets to the point where it's no longer usable, You can take them to some of your local fire departments, and they'll actually recharge them for you, free of charge. Not sure how many in this area, but most of them do.
Yeah, you can always find out by calling the fire department.
Just call them. Give them a call.
Now, we've touched on a number of things that you should be taking a look at in your house on a daily, weekly basis, a monthly basis, a seasonal basis, and things like that. But there's always this concern around this area, and I suppose around the world, for those little critters that like to come in and just make themselves at home. Special request, ants, the little theft ants.
Right. Yeah.
What can be done about them?
Okay. The biggest problem with ants is that there's plenty of products. And that's not the problem, but there's plenty of products that will actually get rid of ants. It will destroy the nest, which is the queen, and they're over-the-counter things you can buy at most of your local hardware stores, and you get them and you set them out, follow the instructions, and set them out, and pretty much stay away from sprays, because these items that are enclosed, they're bait traps. And what they do is the ants come, they take this bait, they take it back to the nest, and in the nest, it gets through the entire colony. And at some point, this food source gets back to the queen, kills the queen, so the colony dies. The biggest problem with ant treatment is that people do not have the patience to wait. They want immediate gratification. They want it resolved. So they go get sprays, and they spray the ants, and they kill them off so they can't take the bait back to the nest.
So how long should they wait?
You should wait anywhere from a week to a month. In most cases, most of the baits that are out there that are over the shelf will take care of an ant colony within a week to a month.
Where are they coming from?
Most of them come from the ground on the exterior. Anything that pretty much lives in your house, most of those are carpenter ants. And that's a whole different type of an ant. Carpenter ants actually use wood for food. They turn the wood into...
They're as bad as termites.
Not quite as bad. They have to have rotten wood.
Oh, okay.
So you have a great deal of moisture for carpenter ants. Termites use moisture. They live in the ground, and they use wood the same way, and they take the wood. People think they eat wood, but they actually don't. They actually take the wood, take it, burrow it in the ground. That's why they need the moisture, so that it's like they have a garden beneath the ground. So they take the wood chips, and it turns to mold. So they eat the mold itself.
Okay, rather than hiring someone to come around for a whole year spraying, what should I do regarding termites?
Termites, you can actually go to some of your hardware stores, by today's standards, and buy baits. You can buy bait traps and set them out around the perimeters of your house. Just buy a box of them or 2 boxes, depending on the labeling as to the distribution, and set them out. And what it does, they have pheromones, which attracts the termites before they get into your house. And if they're in the ground, it attracts those as well.
Any particular places?
Pretty much all around your house. We're separated about anywhere from 5 to 10 feet apart.
For the termites?
For the termites.
Now, you told me once
because
before.
They can come in at any place. And they mainly come in beneath your stoops and your front porch to concrete. And they're usually beneath the landing, your front landing of most houses. I find them there about 65% of the time.
You told me about the ants. They like the south-facing, the sun-facing.
Well, when they're migrating, when they wing termites as well as ants, they prefer the warm side of the house, which is the sunny side. And when they do swarm, that's when they're ready to leave and go somewhere else to set up another colony.
If you were to take a guess, how many ant colonies would you say there is, say, under a typical, say, 3,000 square foot house? How many ants do you think there could be under a house?
Anywhere from several thousand to millions of ants.
Millions of ants.
Millions.
Coming and going.
Coming and going.
Like Grand Central Station. like
as they
Metro.
please.
Like
enjoying all your sweets.
Like the Metro Center, isn't it? Just coming and going, enjoying what are they like?
Well, they mostly like sweet stuff, proteins, like that. Most of the poisons, the extermination stuff has sweet some sweet, something sweet as an attractant for them. So they're actually looking for sugars.
Yeah, I read once where fire ants don't like sugars.
Yeah. Well, those are different. There's not that many of those in this area.
Okay, so the other little theft ants and the other
most
types,
of them, yeah.
they like the sugars and things like that.
It's like when you see them, they're outside and there's, say, like a worm, you know, and they got the worm covered. They're after the protein in the worm.
Ah.
Okay, so that's what's happening there, and then like the little slimy stuff, those are sugars on the worm. So you got the protein and the sugars on a worm.
Okay, what about your little quick mix for poor people like me?
Well, it's
ants.
sulfites and something sweet, like a sulfite with, say, a honey or jelly.
A simple little detergent mixed, and just set it out.
Set it out.
And let them take it back to the nest.
Yeah.
And then they all just
it gets into the food source and it gives them all diarrhea.
And then pretty soon,
You have no colony.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like people that take any laxative over in an abundance.
so we don't wait
It
for them.
creates problem.
We don't wait for them.
No.
And you shouldn't wait either to have your home inspected. If you're buying a home, you can't always rely on the builder. If you're selling your home, you can't always rely on your experience. You need someone to come in there and take a look, and that's what Alton Webb does. Again, you can reach him on the web, or you can call him. He'll be glad to answer your questions. He's always answered my questions, and I can tell you I've had some doozies, but Alton always had an answer for me. Just wrapping up very quickly, I just want everybody to remember that your home is where your heart is, and if you take care of your home, it's a very good chance that it'll take care of you too, and you'll have fewer problems. And especially when it comes to hazards, just make sure that you're doing what you need to do preventive-wise in order to minimize the kinds of problems that you can have. I'm James Jack, and you've been my guest, Alton,
Thank
along
you.
with my friends who are always here for Skills to Pay the Bills. I'm with Ernestine J. Wilson Real Estate, and until the next time, as always, have fun doing what you like doing. Thank you.